Douglas at Avon Books, where it languished for a while because the editor to whom it was assigned left Avon about the time it was assigned to him, and it didn't get passed on to anybody else.
Okay.
And I was sending letters of inquiry, which, by the way, aspiring authors should do, to find out, what was happening. So, like a letter every month. And one of the secretaries was apparently opening them and just shoving them into the file box with the manuscript. And finally, I sent one that said, was not complaining or anything, but it just said, it's been like 7 months and I haven't heard anything. So if I haven't heard anything from you within 30 days, please consider the manuscript withdrawn and we will submit somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And I got a phone call, actually a letter from John that said, I feel terrible because it's been sitting here this entire time. Nobody's even looked at it. Please give me a little bit longer. Let me take a look at it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then he got back to me and said, I'd like to make you an offer on the book, but it's too long. The suits in the front office won't let me buy a 185,000 word first novel. It's going to have to be shortened before I can buy it. Well, I'd already taken 100,000 words out of the original manuscript. But we tried for a year to get it down to a length that the bean counters would let him buy. And we got it down to about 135,000 words. And there was nothing left to take out. John said, everybody who's read this loves it. And you've taken out all of the fat. You've taken out some of the muscle. If you take any more out, you're starting to take the skeleton out. Mm-hmm. And he said, and they still won't let me buy it. And he said, I feel awful about this because of how long you've worked with us on it. So what I suggest you do is withdraw it. Submit it to a house that does more overtly military science fiction. Tell them I really wanted to buy it and they wouldn't let me. And that they should call me so I can tell them that myself. Okay, as rejections come, it doesn't get any better than that, right. So I sent it to Bain, and within 10 days, I got a call. And this very young person, who is no longer as young as she was, at the end of the line, says, hi, this is Tony Weisskopf at Bain, and we'd like to buy your book. I said, okay. Just wonder how much? I said, no, and that was how I sold the first novel. And Bain bought 3 more of mine before the first one came out, which was a good deal for both of us because it let Jim Bain pay first novel prices for all 3 of them, which was a pittance. But it was a big enough pittance that it let me transition immediately to full-time writing, which most people cannot do. Mm-hmm. They're not able to do that. Now, I had no children. Okay. I was had been operating a fairly modest little public relations firm. Mm-hmm. So it was a choice of which garret to starve in. You see what I'm saying? And that was he bought it in 1989. That's when Bain bought Insurrection with Steve. And then in 1992, Bain signed a 4-book contract with me for the Honor Harrington books. And at that point, 4 books was huge because when you sign the contract, you get half the advance up front, or at least you do if you're dealing with Bain Books. God bless him. I have never been happier than the fact that I fell into the clutches of Bain. We were just a perfect fit for each other. But shortly after that, I had a 10-book contract. Okay. And even with fairly modest advances, that was enough signing payment to let me do this full time. And at that point, I was delivering 3.5 books a year. So I could burn through the contract pretty quick. So I was able to do what many people are never able to do, which is to basically quit your day job and write. And there's kind of a catch-22 because I have always been a production writer. Okay, I'm less of one today than I was then, partly because I'm older, okay, and partly because the stories, the worlds have gotten more involved. So there's more involved in making sure of your continuity and so forth than there was when you were just building the worlds to begin with. But a production writer succeeds because there's new books coming out on a regular basis. Okay, if you've got 4 kids and you're working a day job, okay, you can't produce the volume of work to build the readership that will let you quit your day job to write full time. Okay, so it was a very fortunate confluence of events that let me go immediately to it. Now, also, most first novels don't earn out against the advance, okay, because nobody ever heard of them.
Right.
Okay. Insurrection earned out against the advance in the first royalty period, which is very rare for first novels. Then the next one to come out was Mutineer's Moon. And then the Armageddon Inheritance did come out for quite some time because there was a problem with it that they needed me to work on. And when we finally got around to it, nobody could remember what the problem was. That was pretty much it. Okay. And then they'd also bought the Apocalypse Troll, which they then proceeded to lose for like 10 years. You hear about this, it really happens sometimes. I got a phone call from Marla Ainspan at Bain, and she said, "David, you're going to think this is really funny, but we have a contract with you from 1993 that you never filled." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Yeah, it's for something called the Apocalypse Troll." And it was from 1991. Okay. And I said, "Yeah, I know, but Marla, that contract was written for a book that had already been handed in." She said, "Really?" I said, "Yes, it's been rewritten twice since then." And she said, "Why?" And I said, "The Berlin Wall fell. The Soviet Union collapsed. There are a few small changes." And she said, "Oh." And she said, "Well, you'd probably like the delivery payment." And I said, "Yeah, how much is it?" She said, $5,000. And I said, "You send that puppy right on over, kind of thing." But that's why when people say reads like Early Weber, there's a reason. Okay, it was one of the books that Jim bought before Insurrection was even published.
Okay.
And it had just been sitting there somewhere, lost in space. I've been very fortunate. I've worked my butt off at this. I mean, you can be fortunate and then just sit there and lose it. Okay. But apparently the books in general, and Honor Harrington in particular, really resonated with a lot of readers.